What happens when you over-explain yourself is rarely what you think it is. At first, it feels harmless. You're just trying to be clear. You want to be understood. You want to make sure no one misinterprets your intentions. So you add details, context, reasons, justifications. One sentence turns into 5, then 10. But slowly, something shifts. The more you explain, the more your confidence leaks out between the words. Your message stops sounding like clarity and starts sounding like permission-seeking. Instead of stating how you feel, you begin defending why you're allowed to feel that way. Over-explaining teaches people something subtle but powerful about you. It tells them you're unsure your boundaries will be respected unless you soften them. It signals that you're afraid of being misunderstood, rejected, or seen as too much. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people never realize. People who truly respect you rarely need excessive explanations. They listen the first time. They don't require emotional footnotes. Over-explaining often shows up when you've been dismissed before, when your feelings were questioned, when your needs were minimized. So now, without noticing, you try to preempt rejection by explaining everything in advance. But instead of bringing you closer to being understood, it often does the opposite. Because the more you explain, the more others feel entitled to question, interrupt, negotiate, or invalidate what you're saying. Your words lose their weight, not because they aren't true, but because you wrap them in uncertainty. And the hardest part is, you usually don't even notice when it starts happening. You think you're being polite. You think you're being kind. You think you're being clear. But underneath it all, something else is happening. And that's where this pattern really begins to cost you. Because over-explaining slowly teaches you to shrink yourself in conversations. You stop stating your needs plainly and start packaging them so they're easier for others to accept. You soften your words. You apologize before you're even challenged. You add disclaimers like, "I don't know if this makes sense," or "maybe I'm overreacting." Not because you are, but because you've learned that confidence sometimes invites resistance. And the more you do this, the more people begin to take the lead in defining your reality for you. They interrupt. They debate your feelings. They decide what's reasonable and what isn't. Not because they're cruel, but because over-explaining quietly hands them that power. You'll notice it especially in unbalanced relationships. The person who cares less asks fewer questions. They don't need to explain themselves because they don't fear losing you. Meanwhile, you're doing all the emotional labor, filling in the gaps, trying to keep the connection safe with words. And here's the part that hurts. Over-explaining doesn't make you more understood. It often makes you more exhausted. You leave conversations feeling drained, replaying what you said, wondering if you could have explained it better, clearer, softer. But the truth is, the issue was never your explanation. It was the absence of mutual respect. Because when someone values you, you don't need to convince them of your worth or justify your boundaries. You don't need a speech to be taken seriously. Your words stand on their own. Over-explaining becomes a habit when you've learned that silence feels dangerous. When you believe that if you don't say enough, you'll be misunderstood or abandoned. But that belief comes at a cost. And it's one most people don't realize they're paying until much later. Because over time, over-explaining trains you to doubt yourself before anyone else does. You begin to second-guess your instincts, your boundaries, your reactions. Instead of trusting what you feel, you search for better wording, stronger reasons, safer explanations. And slowly, you move further away from your own truth. But here's the shift that changes everything. The moment you stop over-explaining, you don't become cold, you become clear. Clarity sounds like calm statements, not emotional arguments. It looks like saying what you mean once and letting it stand. It feels like trusting that the right people will understand you without needing a breakdown of your emotions. You don't owe everyone access to your inner world. You don't need to justify your boundaries to people who benefit from crossing them. And you don't need to explain yourself endlessly to be worthy of respect. Because the people who truly value you won't need extra convincing. They'll listen. They'll consider your words. They'll meet you where you are. and the ones who demand constant explanations. They were never confused. They were testing how much of yourself you were willing to give away. So the next time you feel the urge to overexplain, pause. Say less. Trust more. Let your words carry their weight. Because confidence isn't loud. It's not defensive. And it doesn't beg to be understood. It simply stands. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.